So you've done it. You've wrestled with the data, you've trained the models, and you have something that works, perfectly in the lab. But let's be real, that's only half the battle. The real question is, how do you get it out of the lab and into the wild, where it can actually start doing some good? That's what we're breaking down today. Right. Think about it. A perfectly tuned, brilliantly engineered AI model that's just sitting on a server. It's kind of like a Formula One car that never leaves the garage. I mean, sure, it's an incredible piece of technology, but until it's actually on the track, it's not winning any races. It isn't a solution yet. The real magic, the real value, happens when we put that model into production. And that's exactly where phase 6 of the CPMAI methodology comes into play. It's called Model Operationalization, and it is the absolute crucial bridge between your working model and a living, breathing business asset. This is the part where we go from a cool science project to a real-world business solution. To get there, we're going to walk through 4 key steps. We'll start with crafting a deployment blueprint. Then we'll talk about the big mindset shift from building to maintaining. After that, we'll get into the all-important rules of the road with monitoring and governance. And finally, we'll see how to wrap it all up so we can learn and iterate. Ready? Let's go. Okay, first things first, the deployment blueprint. Look, you wouldn't try to launch a rocket without a detailed flight plan, right? So why would you deploy a complex AI model without one? This initial planning stage is where you save yourself from a world of headaches down the line. At the heart of this is what's called the Operationalization Plan. And yeah, the definition sounds simple, but this document is everything. It is your mission guide. It lays out the entire strategy, not just what you're going to do, but step by step exactly how you're going to pull it off. And that plan has to get specific about how this model is going to live in the world. Is it going to run in batch mode, crunching a ton of data overnight? Or does it need to be a super fast, real-time microservice that gives answers in milliseconds? Is it going to be on-premise because of security, or up in the cloud so it can scale? The right answer totally depends on the problem you're trying to solve. And here's something people forget. Your model can't do the job alone. It needs what the CPMAI framework calls model scaffolding. Think of it like the scaffolding around a building under construction. It's all the other code, the APIs, the user interfaces, the data pipelines. It's everything that needs to be built around the model to connect it to your systems and make it actually usable. So, the scaffolding is up, the model is live. Hooray. But the job isn't done. Oh no. It just changes completely. Now the team's focus has to shift from being architects and builders to being like mission controllers, whose job is to keep this thing running smoothly in a world that is constantly changing. And this slide just nails that shift. See, back in development, you were obsessed with things like model accuracy, the F1 score, how long it took to train. But now that it's live, your worries are totally different. You're thinking about things like latency, how fast is it, uptime, is it even running, how much does it cost? And the big one, concept drift. Is the real world changing in ways that are making my once brilliant model obsolete? That whole concept drift thing, it leads us perfectly into our next section, monitoring and governance. This is all about setting up the systems and the people to keep your AI healthy, effective, and accountable for the long haul. This is the long-term care plan for your AI. I really like this quote from the CPMAI workbook because it just cuts right to the point. If you don't have a plan for maintenance, a model that used to be great can slowly, quietly start failing, or even worse, start giving you bad information. A solid maintenance strategy is basically your insurance policy against your AI going rogue. So how do you actually do that? Well, you start by building a governance framework. First, you figure out who's on the governance team, who owns this thing. Then you define how they work. How do they get feedback from users? What's the protocol when an issue pops up? What's the paperwork trail look like? Having this structure is what ensures someone is always accountable. All this monitoring isn't just about fixing problems, though. It's about learning. And that brings us to our final section, learning and iterating. Because in the world of AI, the end of one project is really just the starting line for the next one. Wrapping up an iteration the right way is so important. You've got to write that final report, you have to present what you found to the stakeholders, and this is huge, you have to conduct a project review, or a postmortem. This is where the real gold is. You document the wins, the struggles, and all those lessons you learned the hard way, so you don't have to learn them again. Because that's the whole idea, right? What you learn in that review doesn't just get filed away in a digital cabinet somewhere. It becomes the blueprint for the very next iteration. AI development isn't a straight line. It's a circle. It's a continuous cycle of building, deploying, learning, and getting better each time around. And that leaves us with this one last, really critical question. Sure, the project iteration might be done, but is the problem actually solved? See, finishing a project is just a milestone. The real goal is to solve the business need, and that's an ongoing mission. So as one cycle ends, the most important question to ask isn't what did we build? It's, are we closer to the solution, and what's our next move?